Welcome everybody to the I and Me series. Today is Ancestors and anything else that happens to pop up. So take a moment just to take a deep breath in. And we're going to set up a safe, sacred space in the higher realms for you, your soul, your team. And we'll explain who they are in a minute, so that this healing can happen at a really deep level, so that you can shift those really deep pieces without having to have multiple sessions. So when you're ready, just close your eyes and find yourself in a comfortable seat, and we're going to call forth the Ascended Masters, your guides, you from the future as an Ascended Master, your team, an energy consciousness that surrounds you in another dimension who's been contracted to journey with you here on the planet while you're in physical human form. So they're not really here in this dimension, they're actually in another dimension, but they surround you up there. Your body deva's higher self, that is the consciousness of your physical human form. And we're going to invite the beings from the angelic realm of love and light who actually have mastery in helping souls who are embodied on the planet through transformation, times of transformation. There actually is a special group that masters really in that. And so we're going to invite them to come forth. And I'm getting the enlightened nature kingdom would like to come forth. And that's your devas of the nature kingdom, your grass devas, your tree devas, flower devas, wood devas, rock devas. Those are consciousness from earth. They're enlightened, so they're not an ego. Ooh, okay, energy's moving. We ask them to come forth now and surround you in this safe and sacred space. So we're not done setting up the space, but you may feel the energy already start to move. I am. And we're going to invite you at the level of your higher self and your body deva's higher self to actively connect with your own healing source, your own spiritual power, to actively connect and engage with grids and lines of love and light, and with all systems, levels, components, and all aspects of your body and your being. And we're going to call forth the appropriate sacred geometric healing shapes, holograms, and mandalas that have the capacity to support you today from a place of clearing old belief systems, clearing old ancestral belief systems, clearing the energetic, biological templates, blueprints, and grids that aren't yours. Self-empowerment, divine boundaries, clarity, divine connection, allowing, receiving, flow, and love. Plus any other intentions you wish to bring in for yourself today, we're going to invite you to do that now. And then we ask that these intentions be held in your energetic fields. Ooh. So there seems to be like a massive clearing happening. It's pretty big. And this happened before we even started, as soon as we asked everybody to come in. So I'm just going to get an idea of where we want to start. Okay, and we do want to start, how about down here? Okay, we are going to start with the running of energy, is what I call it, running energy from above and below. Okay, and we're just going to walk you through this process. We're just going to remind you that we're not doing anything in this process. Any energy that you are feeling or experiencing is happening by you and for you. So really, we're running the processes, we're empathically feeling what's happening in your energetic fields, and then we're holding the space, this resonance of the solution to the vibrations of what we're experiencing, and then we're reflecting those solutions to you. And so it's kind of like you're energy self going, oh yeah, I know how to do that, and then you shift you. And I know a lot of you who are on the call who've worked with me before already know this, so just bear with me for those new people, to just really reiterate that we're not running any energy on you, we're not flowing anything, we're not sending anything, we're not touching you really. We're just going to hold this really big safe container, this bubble, for you to shift you. And that is what's happening. So anything that you're experiencing is you. It's all you. It's the name of the game. Okay, so we're inviting your higher self and your body, Deva's higher self, to first drop grounding cords, extending from your waist down from your root chakra, and from your root chakra, and to go all the way through the earth, to finding the earth's core, and to hook your grounding cords into that core, so it's kind of like you're tethered on. So no matter how high you fly out here today, you're going to be completely grounded to the earth. And when you are grounded to the earth, the higher in your chakras you can actually move through. You're going to invite your higher self and your body's higher self to bring your aura in about 1.5 feet off of your energy. You don't have to do this with your mind. Your energy selves already know how to do this. You can just sit and experience or feel it happening. Inviting your higher self to your crown chakra, throwing a veil of roses of protection around your energy. And this veil has a capacity to clean and clear your energy fields and then protect it while you're running your own energy. And we're inviting your higher self and your body, Deva's higher self, to run your energy from above and below. So we're just going to walk the body Deva through this process. And body Deva, what that means is we're going to now take that core earth energy and we're going to invite you to open your feet chakras and to bring that energy up through your feet, up through the side channels of your legs. There you go. Open your root chakra. Bring that energy into the root. Clean and clear the root chakra. And then take that cleaned and cleared energy down your grounding cords, down into the heart of earth, into that core for transformation, and then run that energy up again as a cycle. So as your body Deva runs that piece, we invite your higher self to the top of your head by your crown, and she's going to bring in divine source energy. So your energy stems from the heart of source. So the energy you're bringing in really is your own soul's spark, your own soul's energy through the crown, opening the crown, cleaning and clearing the crown, running that energy down the back of the body. So coming in from the top and then running it down the back of the third eye, the throat, the heart, all the way back down until you reach the root, in which you're going to pick up about 10 to 15% of earth energy from the root, the clean energy from the root, and then run it back up the front of the spine, up and out through the crown, out through your hand chakras, opening your hands. Good. And then it's kind of like spilling over from the top, spilling over into your energetic fields, cleaning and clearing any stuck, stagnant energy that's ready to go, any current blocks that you're ready to release. Good. Clearing away other people's sounds, vibrations, chaos, noise. We're going to invite your higher self and your body, Deva's higher self, to run this energy from above and below for the duration of this session, and then at the end to then stop running energy when you are complete at the close, just in case I forget, because I usually do. Great. Good. So in order to process this information, so when we do ancestral stuff, we're really focusing and working on an area that in truth doesn't really exist in this dimension. It's accessing your soul's templates, blueprints, grids, your energy, and all of that happens at a different level, at the level of your higher self. So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take the elevator to your higher self, and then we're going to do the work up there. So find just a quiet, centered space, and we call it a tube of light that flows just in front of your spine. We call that the divine line. And just with your imagination, close your eyes and just imagine pulling all of your energy and awareness into this divine line, into this tube of light that sits right behind your heart. We're going to enter through there. The divine line actually runs the whole length of your body into the earth and up to the heart of source and creates a loop. But right now we're just going to step into the elevator through the heart. And literally you can imagine just standing in this tube of light. It's just light pouring down within you and around you. And with your imagination you can see, sense, or just perceive like there's some type of elevator in there. And we're going to invite you to step into the elevator. And you may be able to see it with your imagination or just sense it. We're going to invite you to press the button to the 12th floor. We're going to the 12th dimension. And just imagine you're riding your elevator all the way up to the 12th floor. Now some people stop at the 7th floor or the 10th floor. We like to go to the 12th because the 12th floor in the 12th dimension is where your higher self, your soul's essence, your soul energy resides. So we're kind of like taking it to the man or the woman in this situation. Maybe we don't have any guys today, but we might later. Taking that elevator all the way up to the 12th floor. And if you like, you can imagine, I would suggest you do this on your own through the recording, is as you ride that elevator up to the 12th floor, we invite you to imagine you're riding that elevator up through your chakra system. We're not going to do that today because we're crunched for time, but I am going to invite you to imagine the red floor for the root chakra, the orange floor for the sacral, the yellow floor for the solar plexus, the green floor or the pink floor for your heart. I do green and pink, like a little swirl. I think green is for receiving and pink is for giving love from the heart chakra. Then imagine heading up to the light blue floor, which represents your throat, and then the indigo floor for the third eye, and then the purple floor, amethyst color, for the crown. And then when you're done with the crown, you're going to head up into the 12th floor, which is filled with light, bright white golden light. Then your door is open, and just imagine yourself leaving the elevator and stepping onto this lighted platform. And for some of you, it might be a field of poppies or a field of grass or a forest or a beach. Wherever it is that you land on your 12th floor is perfect. It doesn't have to look like anything I say, just as long as you can see it, sense it, or perceive it. So as you exit your elevator at the 12th floor, wherever you are, we're just going to invite you to find this space that your soul's essence has set aside for you. It could be a couch, a chair, a bed, whatever it is that's comfortable for you. It could be nothing. Whatever it is, it's been there and set for you to sit and rest in. And we're going to do all the work today up here. So you might see some things in your mind's eye or sense or feel energy moving at this 12th dimension. That's perfect. And if anything should come up, because you are live on the call, we invite you to tap in or tap in what that is in the chat box and let us know. And we can take a look at that and help that move as well. Good. So we're going to start first with the ancestors and the grids of lack that we've taken on from the ancestors. And so how that works is, you know, when the ancestors were here on the planet, it was many, 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 many moons ago. And life here was a little different. Life here was being lived from a place of survival as opposed to thriving. Right? So we were always, or they were always worried about, where am I going to get my next meal? Where am I going to get the money to pay for this? Who's going to love me? All of these areas where there was fear that there wasn't enough, there isn't enough, there will never be enough. And so you go into this mode of what we call survival, trying to survive on the planet. Well, as you know, lack is an illusion because we're always provided with everything that we need internally, but we've taken these experiences that the ancestors have had here on the planet because that's how they survived in that consciousness. Well, the consciousness is not the same as it is right now. We're moving into more manifestation, bringing all of our resources internally, having them reflect externally, and creating our own reality, becoming more empowered, seeing things from a place of abundance, from a place of I have everything, I create everything that I want. And so everywhere that you're holding these lack grids from the ancestors, we're going to invite you at the level of your higher self, your body, David's higher self, and your team. All three must work together to engage and locate, here we go, these lack grids and these survival mechanisms. So everywhere you're using these survival mechanisms, as a way of creating, or as actually as a way of surviving instead of thriving. Let's start there. We're going to invite you to delete and dissolve all of those. Good. And to lift these grids of survival and these mechanisms of survival that you're using that don't belong to you, they belong to your ancestors. Engage and locate those, delete and dissolve those, and return and retrieve them. So it's kind of like when you came to the planet, all your ancestors lined up and they all gave you a gift, and in this case, they all gave you their survival mechanisms. Oh, so you're going to Earth? Well, this is what I use to survive on that planet. And you're like, oh yeah, great, give me that, give me that. But now you realize, now that you're here, that these mechanisms aren't going to work for where we are in the consciousness of evolution of the planet and of your own soul's experience. So you don't need those. Oh, there you go. You don't need those grids anymore. So we're going to invite you to locate them and lift them up and off all systems, levels, components, and all aspects of your body, your being, and your team, and send them back to their right and perfect place where they can be received with all relevant and appropriate energetic information. Returning all lessons associated with these mechanisms, returning all tasks, and releasing and returning all negative karma associated with these survival mechanisms. It's not even yours. So return your ancestors' karma around these survival mechanisms. Good. Whew. Whew. Good. we're just waiting for that energy to move. So those of you who have my ebook, Activate Your Shift, we talk about how the clearing statement is really only 6 words, and you can blow through it in a second. But with this process, we want to work really slow. We want to wait until that energy stops moving before we ask for the next piece to come in. Otherwise, it will be very overwhelming. Excellent, Shanna. We're going to bring that piece in next as soon as this energy stops moving. Good. And Shanna brings up a great point. I don't know if you can see the chat box or not, but she says, I don't know how to thrive. What will I do without the survival mechanisms? Excellent. You have your own survival mechanism. Actually, cancel that. Your soul has its own thriving mechanism. Okay? You know as a soul essence how to thrive. And so what we're going to invite you to do at the level of your higher self is to engage and locate in the higher realms that thriving mechanism. So just, there it goes. There's just, from your imagination, you just imagine that your soul has this private library of books, and only you have the access key to get into the library. And so what we're inviting you to do as a soul is to go to your library and go and find the book on thriving. So she's going to go find the book, or he's going to go find the book. He's going to open the book, activate the book. And this thriving mechanism holds such a high vibration of mastery that it is your perfect divine template, blueprint, and grid for thriving. So you're going to go find that one. Good. Activate that in the higher realm. So it's kind of like taking the book out, opening the book, let it do its magic. And then it's almost as if your higher self's kind of taking some notes. We're going to invite your body, Deva, and your team to do the same with this. They're like taking notes. And then what we're doing, or inviting them to do, is then to reflect those notes, those vibrations, those frequencies, those templates, those blueprints, those grids, the vibrations, the way in which you thrive. And we have them reflect that to you from the 12th dimension to the physical dimension into this current breath of now, and to infuse all of those pieces into your grids here, into your thriving grids. So completely in destroying all of your survival grids that you're using that are not yours, they belong to the ancestors, or hold a lower vibration that you're ready to move out of. So delete and dissolve all that completely. And then it's almost as if your energy is then bringing in this new booklet, this new book of thriving, and infusing or imprinting the grids you just cleared with thriving instead of surviving. So your body, Deva's higher self, your higher self, and your team are kind of reweaving this grid, kind of pulling out all the red lines that are belonging to your ancestors or they're holding a lower vibration, and reweaving the thriving into this grid. I just asked the guides, can we just get rid of the survival grids entirely and destroy them and just thrive? And they're saying no. You need some mechanisms for survival, especially for the body, Deva, and that actually serves you from a place of when you're in dangerous situations, or when you might be challenged by some other external source. So we're going to infuse them more and bring in thriving and just, balance out that. So we're thriving more than we're surviving. Good. Activating all the spiritual lessons around that in your energy fields. Good. In your divine line, in your tube of light. Activating thriving internally for you, your body, and your team. And then thriving, as opposed to surviving, then gets reflected into your outer world so that you can see the experience of what you're holding internally. More thriving inside, more thriving outside. And repattern all of those pieces. Same for your body, Deva, same for your team. And repattern is really an update of the way you perceive, the update of the grids, the update of all the processes that we just did, and then bringing in any healing or recalibrations that are required. Good. And we're just going to wait for that to move. Right on target with that, Shanna. Good for you. Good. I'm just going to check that off my list. And I just have some notes I'm just referring to if you see me looking down. Good. Okay. Okay. So this next piece is being responsible for the ancestors. And we can be responsible for other people in our reality here. You know, we're responsible for our children. Sometimes you take responsibility for fixing your family, fixing your parents, fixing your spouse, fixing your children. And that's a very uncomfortable energy. Because once you decide to fix somebody, you empathically feel all of their stuff. And actually chaos and sometimes even turmoil can result from that. And so we think of that here in the physical dimension, and that happens all the time. We clear a lot of that for people because we're moving out of taking personal responsibility energetically for others. So, you know, we don't want to steal other people's gifts and mechanisms, and we want to make sure you're just functioning from our own. But in this particular piece around ancestral personal responsibility, we're just going to invite you to just think back when you were just about leaving, right? And all your ancestors are lined up. And for some of you, your ancestors not only gave you your survival mechanisms, but they gave you responsibility for their spiritual growth and evolution. That's huge. So it's kind of like, well, you're going down to earth and I'm not. I'm staying here. And I want you to take responsibility for my growth and evolution. So, you know, you need to shift this piece for me. And they hand you this piece that they want you to shift, because you can only really shift dense energies here, embodied in the form. And so up high, you can still learn lessons and shift energy, but it happens quicker and faster when you're in the physical form. So as you begin to leave, you had a couple of your ancestors go, we want you to shift this piece for our own spiritual growth and evolution. It's kind of like you do the work and I get the benefits. Except that it's super, super uncomfortable down here in the physical dimension to even just shift your own energy. And now you have this group of ancestral people coming forth and being like, I want you to shift mine too. So that can be really uncomfortable, because you may be going in one direction and your ancestors are going in another direction, and you find yourself that you can't really move in the directions that you want to. And that's because you're carrying the ancestors' responsibility. So we're just going to give all that back, and they're not going to be happy, but we don't really care, because that's their job. It's their job to shift and be responsible for their own spiritual growth and evolution. So we're inviting you at the level of your higher self, your body, Deva's higher self, and your team, to engage and locate everywhere your ancestors gave you personal responsibility for their own spiritual growth and evolution. And And some of you, your throat chakras are kind of closing up, like you're really afraid to tell them, I'm not taking responsibility for your journey. And we're just going to invite you to really hold the space that you're only responsible for you and your own journey. And the fact that if you take responsibility for their journey, okay, you ignore and discount the fact that they are divine in their own right. Let me say that again. They are divine in their own right. And you would never take those pieces away from them, because it would be as if you were not acknowledging their own divinity. There we go. That's right. Okay? They are divine just as you. They have the ability to take responsibility for their journey. And you, because you are a little bit more evolved, you see that divinity in them. Or they're saying for some, that God-like essence, goddess-like essence, source energy, whatever terminology you use. You're acknowledging that divinity within them. And by taking personal responsibility, it's almost as if you're saying, your divinity isn't good enough to shift this piece. I'll take it from you. Ew, doesn't that feel just kind of sticky right there? It feels kind of sticky. And there's a reason why that's sticky. Okay, so instead, we're looking at it from, you know what? You are divine. Your source energy runs in front of you. You can handle this. I'm going to handle my own. You're going to handle yours. So we're going to invite you to engage and locate everywhere all the sticky energy is, of everywhere you've taken personal responsibility for helping your ancestors shift, for their journey, for their spiritual growth, for their evolution, and everywhere they gave you that responsibility to shift it for them, discounting their own divinity, their own source energy. There we go. Delete and dissolve it all. Whew, yeah. And then lift it up and off. Remember, this is happening in the 12th floor, so your brain, your mind is not doing any of this work. Lift it up and off. All systems, levels, components, all aspects of your body, your being, and your team. Because if you're doing it, these other essences, your body and your team, are doing it too. There we go. Gather it all. Imagine like you, your body, and your team are making what I call a responsibility basket. You're all going through your pockets, through your chakras, and you're putting all the responsibility from the ancestors that they gave you or you took before you left into the basket. Everybody fill up the basket. Get all the nooks and crannies. Don't hold on to anything. Because we're going to acknowledge their own divine essence, their own divinity, their own means of being able to be responsible for themselves. Stick it all in the basket. Good. Now return and retrieve all pieces. So send this basket back to its right and perfect place where it can be received with all relevant and appropriate information. Return and retrieve all the lessons associated with it, all the tasks, and all the negative karma. Okay. And some of you are holding this fear. If I give this back, you say they won't evolve. Okay. Well, that is an indicator that you're not recognizing themselves as divine, as source, as that goddess, godlike energy. So you have like this ego piece, this responsibility piece of you know how to do it better. You know how to do it better than they do. Okay, that's where that piece comes from. Okay. The truth is, you're both the same. Source created you just as equally as they created the other person. And it's that other person's job to recognize their own essence, their own source energy, and then to be responsible for it, to go and access its own library of unique gifts and tools and wisdom. Your gifts, wisdom, and tools can't work for them anyway. It's like emptying your entire library and putting in someone else's, but that section is completely cut off to them. They can't access it because it's not yours. It's not theirs, rather. So we're going to invite you. And we do, yeah, they're telling me that what we call that in this kind of metaphysics, esoteric work, is spiritual arrogance. If you think about it, it's arrogance from a spiritual perspective. My tools work better than your tools. I'm more divine than you are. I'm more evolved than you are. It's kind of like this spiritual arrogance. And when you place your tools, your books, in someone else's library, number one, they can't use it. Number two, you can't use it because you just gave it away. And number three, it will keep you in this pattern of personal responsibility, of empathic backlash, of these karmic mind crud experiences. Here we go. Okay, so release the karma around the spiritual arrogance that you're holding in your fields by returning and retrieving all of your soul's gifts, wisdom, tools, and mastery back to the right and perfect places. So you're giving yours back and they're taking theirs back, releasing the spiritual arrogance, moving into your divine lines and bringing in your own awareness and acknowledgement of your own essence. Because once you acknowledge your essence, you can model that in your tube, and then that actually allows the other people, your ancestors, to acknowledge their own divine essence. Once you can acknowledge yours, they can acknowledge theirs, and then they can access their library. They don't need to access your library. So if you imagine that you're in your library, and outside, all of your ancestors are pounding on the door for your books. And so you don't give them your books. You show them how to access their own library. Then there's no spiritual arrogance, there's no negative karma, there's no personal responsibility issues. So everything that brings up times a godzillion. Destroy and uncreate it all, delete and dissolve it all. Good. There it goes. Return and retrieve all pieces, all lessons, tasks, and karma. Okay. And your team is like having a little trouble with this. So team, tell us what you're having a little trouble with around this piece. Okay, and your team's saying, well, we want to be of service, and this doesn't seem good. Doesn't seem to serve them, okay? And we're inviting your team, actually, they're inviting, hold on. There's a little powwow happening upstairs. I'm like a fly on the wall, so just give me a second. Okay. Right. And they don't want to release it because they feel responsible for it. Because they feel it's their job. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. So I am having I see the Ascended Masters kind of encircling your team and having a little powwow about that. Okay. And your team is saying, or some of your team, I should say, is saying, you know, we can't shift that piece. We took responsibility for this. It's our job to help the ancestors. clear this karma. And that is spiritual arrogance at its best right there. It's my job. And we think about it, and this is not good or bad. I'm just trying to convey the piece of arrogance that happens with that. And that is, it's my job because I'm the best at it. I'm the one who can do it the best. I'm the only one who knows how to do this. So it's my job to help you little people who haven't quite evolved yet, little bunny rabbits in the yard, shift these pieces around your karma because you don't know this piece yet. You're not as where I am. You're not as evolved. Okay, I think you kind of get the point. It's kind of getting a little constricted in here. So it's that piece of arrogance, of not really recognizing the divinity in someone else's journey, in someone else's evolution. So there we go. Okay, they're starting to release it, which is good. So it's really from a place of everyone is at a different level of spiritual growth and evolution for their own pace, for their own soul. And wherever they are at on that evolutionary ladder is perfect for them, for where they are, for what they're accomplishing. Okay, and whether or not you try to push them up the ladder or down the ladder because you think you know best, they will not move. You will actually keep them more stuck and then move them forward because they're not really doing the work. You're trying to do the work for them. And I can promise you that you have enough work to do on your own to not have to worry about an entire ancestral clan. So invite the team to delete and dissolve all that, to return and retrieve all of those pieces. There it goes. Return all their lessons, tasks, karma, negative karma. Oh, there it goes. Back to its right and perfect place where it can be received with all relevant and appropriate information. And your team's like, oh, that does feel better. Yeah, you're not carrying around 200 other people's karma and their lessons and their tasks. Yeah, I bet you that feels good. I'm going to invite you to release all the empathic sensitivity around carrying that ancestral karma. Good. Return all the gifts, wisdom, tools, and mastery. Retrieve your own. Activate that level of being personally responsible only for your own energy, for only recognizing your own divinity in the divine line for you, your body, and your team. And you might feel like a sense of energy just kind of moving into that center line. Good. Activating the spiritual lessons in the divine line in your energetic fields. And repatterning all of those pieces. Same for your body, same for your team. Good. That's a huge piece, and I'm going to invite you guys to really re-listen to this part or rewatch it, whether you're on video or not. That is enormous, because when you move into spiritual arrogance, it could take you lifetimes to unravel yourself from it. But if you bring consciousness and awareness to it now, things would be much more smoother. Your own evolutionary path becomes a little bit lighter. So it's really, really an important piece. And we used to do this eons ago. And it's just an old way of being, and spiritual arrogance can lead you down a very, very dark path. So that's something to really kind of keep consciously aware of. Good. Okay. Okay. So this next piece is around all the soul fragments You might have snatched from your ancestors along with all of their karma. So when you do actually snatch a soul fragment from someone, you hold that energy in your fields. You also take on their karma. So they can't shift that karma because you have it. So we're going to invite you at the level of your higher self, body Devas, higher self, and your team to engage and locate all of the ancestral soul fragments that you, your body, your team, or your spiritual family may be holding. And all of the karma, negative karma, that is associated with that soul fragment that you're holding on to, you, your body, or your team, or your spiritual family, to locate that as well. Good. And to delete and dissolve it all. Good. Lift it up and off all systems, levels, components, all aspects of you, your body, your team, your spiritual family, to the degree that they so choose. And return and retrieve it. Send back the soul fragment with all the karma and all the negative karma, all its lessons, all the tasks, back to its right and perfect place where it can be received with all relevant and appropriate energetic information. Good. Release all the trauma that you may be holding as a result of holding this karma. Release all that. Return and retrieve it. Good. And we're waiting for that to kind of transpire. Release all the empathic sensitivity you might be experiencing from holding these soul fragments, from holding this karma, from holding all those lessons and all those tasks. Release all the empathic sensitivity around that. Return and retrieve that. Whew. Okay. Engage and locate any soul fragments that any of your own ancestors might be holding, and all of your lessons, tasks, and karma that they're taking responsibility for, they're holding, or have inadvertently snatched from you, from them or their team. Good. And lift those pieces up and off all systems, levels, components, and all aspects of your ancestors. And bring it back to the divine line. Actually, bring it back to the level of your higher self, your body's higher self, and your team, who would clean, clear, heal this soul fragment, this energy, repair it, integrate it gently, gracefully, joyfully, recalibrate it to your own essence. We'll ask your higher selves from the future as ascended masters to assist in this integration process, depending upon how many fragments there actually are, to bring these pieces back into wholeness, into your own energy, your own essence, your own fields. For you, your body, and your team, please. And bringing that integrated self back into this present breath of now and beyond. Activating all spiritual lessons and repatterning all of those pieces, please. Same for your body, Davis. Same for your team. Okay. And we're just waiting for that shift to happen. Remember, it's happening at the 12th dimension. You're feeling it here in the 5th, but we're sensing it being happening, or sense it happening in the 12th dimension. Just holding that space, that awareness that the work is being held upstairs, so to speak. What do I do if my job isn't to help people in that way? So Shanna asked a really good question. I'm assuming this is on the heels of the spiritual arrogance piece, where she's saying, what do I do if my job, quote unquote, isn't to help people in that way? Very cool. That's an excellent question. So we're going to go back to the spiritual aspect, spiritual arrogance aspect of it's not your job to do that. It's their job. What your job actually is to recognize yourself, recognize your own essence, recognize your own divinity in your own divine line, and to model that to them, to your family, your friends, your ancestors, spiritual family. That is actually, you can consider your job. Because when you hold all of those vibrations and frequencies on yourself, you become this big, bright, light, white container of this pure essence energy, and you fill it up with the solutions to what they are trying to move in or out of. So the moment you can be that big bubble of light on yourself, that then raises your vibration. So when you model that to someone else, okay, let's say they're here, okay, so you model this high vibration bubble here. All you're doing is holding that energy on you and for you, bubbling it up and reflecting it. Then this person sees what you're doing. Oh my gosh, look what she's doing. Oh, that's really cool, right? Little Bubba Chow. We gotta inject a little humor here. Okay. What happens is they start recognizing their selves. They start recognizing their divinity. They start recognizing their tools. And before you know it, what has already happened? You're both at the same level. You didn't have to do anything other than hold that bubble for yourself. Does that make sense? Got it. Yes. That in and of itself then is your job. Your job is to hold however a higher frequency or a vibration or a higher container, a higher bubble of recognition of how you use your tools, how you access your library on you, for you, in that bubble. And then you reflect it. We call that modeling that energy. You reflect it or you model it to people who can't or don't want to or don't know how to do that. You simply reflect it. In that reflection, it's really what's happening in that reflection is really that conversation. So here's you again, right? So it's like, hey, how do you do that? I don't know how to do that. Can you help me with that? Oh, sure. This is how we do it. Bubble up. Here it is. I'm going to show you how to do it. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay, let me look. Okay, I get it. Got it. Yay! Everybody's happy, right? Okay. And you didn't have to assume any karma. You didn't have to take responsibility. You don't have any empathic reaction. All you had to do was hold your own energy in this coherent field. That's what we call when you bubble up everything internally on you and you create that bubble. That bubble is called a coherent field. And that's, if you look up the law of resonance, what the law of resonance says, if you have a vibration like a tuning fork vibrating at one level, then you don't have to do anything to the other tuning forks that are in the room. They automatically start to vibrate at the high level, even though they may be tuned for a different frequency. The higher vibration will bring everybody up. So this tuning fork didn't have to go over here and try and fix this other guy. All he had to do was ring. Okay. Good. All right. I try to give you as many examples as I can, because one will always click for someone and then another one will always click for someone else. So my puppet show is not to necessarily make fun or think you're simple-minded by any means. It's just a visual way of expressing what's happening energetically. So I hope nobody's insulted by that. Okay. All right. Okay, so this last piece is around using your ancestral mechanisms to navigate the world that you're in. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have a complete full understanding of what they mean by that. I'm sure we will as soon as we start moving, into that. So I'm just going to tune in and see how they want to begin. How do we want to begin that? Okay, so invite your higher self, your body, Davis, higher self, and your team to engage and locate everywhere you are using your ancestral mechanisms or navigational systems to locate yourself on your own journey, your own path, your own spiritual growth or evolution, and that you're on in this world, on Earth. Okay. So we're engaged in locating all of the ancestral navigational mechanisms for navigating this planet. We're inviting your higher self, your body's higher self, and team to engage and locate everywhere you're using those mechanisms. So it's kind of like, do I want to use Christopher Columbus's compass or do I want to use my iPhone, right? Well, the compass will still work, right? It'll take you 3 times as long if it's not broken, if it hasn't decompensated, right? But my iPhone will get you there like in an instant because it's programmed to me and knows exactly where I'm going. The Christopher Columbus compass is programmed for your ancestors and your biology, and it takes everything into consideration. So and it may take you to a path where your ancestors went. So your ancestors wanted to go to the United States, and that's where Christopher Columbus ended. But now in this new iPhone world, you're not heading to the US, you're heading to Europe, or you're heading somewhere else. So you want to use the compass that's right for you to get you to where you need to be, not where your ancestors need to be. So everywhere you're doing that, we're going to invite you to delete and dissolve it all. Yeah, just get rid of that. Get rid of the compass. Yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of the compass. Okay. And then engage and locate in the higher realms, in your library, your own unique navigational mechanism. And it's really funny because I'm like looking at the library and it's like this navigational mechanism is like located in the, what do they call it? In the books where all the sea stories are, right? Like all the water stories, all the travel over water. It's like a water theme. Good. Open that book, right? It's your divine perfect navigational mechanisms for navigating this world. Activate it in the higher realms. Open it up. Take your notes down. Get all the templates, the blueprints, the grids, the vibrations, the frequencies, the sounds. Good. And then reflect all of those pieces down to yourself here into the physical dimension, or you can just imagine like your higher self coming down with like a letter, of all the notes of how to navigate the world. Either way, whatever visual works for you. And she's going to then take these notes and recalibrate your current navigational mechanisms for navigating this world, recalibrate it to the notes that you've received or to the reflection of the vibrations that are being reflected down to you here into this physical dimension, into this current breath of now and beyond. Yep. Deleting and dissolving all the mechanisms from the ancestors. Destroying and uncreating them. They're not yours. They don't work. return them if you like, or send them up to the heart of source for transformation. There we go. Oh, oh wow. Oh, that's big. So this recalibration navigates you to your own path, your own purpose, your own passion, your own direction. So, you know, it helps you not to be taken off the path into the realm of the ancestors' passion, the ancestors' purpose. Because you're using your own iPhone to get to where you're going. Good. Release all the negative karma that's associated with these navigational mechanisms. Return and retrieve all the lessons, all the tasks, all the karma, all the empathic sensitivity, all the mechanisms. Good. Yep. Your higher self, your body's higher self, your team are just recalibrating your navigational mechanisms for this planet, for this current point in time, for the vibrations that you're moving into, for the energetic downloads that are coming in over the next 3 months. And now we're activating that navigational grid. So it's kind of like, now that it's recalibrated, flick the switch and turn it on. Okay, so it's like power up your iPhone, turn it on, start navigating, and activate all the spiritual lessons around it. Good. And repattern all of those pieces, please. Same for your body, same for your team. Good. We're going to ask that you be wrapped in a safe, sacred container that is calibrated to your own soul's essence, one for your body, one for your team, and that has the capacity to seal these vibrations in to the degree that is appropriate for your own spiritual growth and evolutionary state. We thank the angelic realm who have come forth to serve and assist today, to you for having the courage to move into greater states of energetic integrity, personal responsibility. For as you shift, humanity shifts with you. Let it be so. Oh.